So I was stirring my gin into my porridge this morning when I decided to catch up on the latest financial news, as I often do. And blow me, it seems like things aren't looking good for Disney Star Wars. Attendance at their new Galaxy's Edge theme park has fallen way below expectations. Solo was a box office failure that lost the company over $100 million, and The Last Jedi effectively split the fan base right down the middle, pitting people who hated the movie against people who pretended to like it. Wow, colour me shocked. How on earth did this happen? I honestly thought Disney and Lucasfilm had a winning formula on their hands. I mean, this is the company that released a string of movies that were either direct clones of the originals or powerful vehicles to push present-day identity politics down our throats. Movies that boldly proclaimed they wanted to move away from the original trilogy and forge a new path for themselves, while simultaneously milking the nostalgic fan base for all it was worth. A company that successfully diminished, disrespected, disregarded, and outright destroyed our most beloved characters from the original trilogy, not to mention blowing the one and only chance they had to reunite our three main heroes on screen for the first time in over 30 years. They also successfully eliminated the highly popular and profitable expanded universe, which by the time of the Disney takeover encompassed hundreds of books, TV shows, games and comics. Longtime fans were sure to be won over by the destruction of some of their favourite characters and stories. Kathleen Kennedy soon demonstrated her leadership skills as well, proving she wasn't simply a diversity hire who spent most of her career riding the coattails of far more competent, successful and creative directors and producers, and basically got handed the job of Lucasfilm president as a glorified long service award. She boldly blew through a string of directors she'd either incorrectly hired in the first place, couldn't cooperate with, or failed to properly manage. She also handled the fallout from The Last Jedi and Solo with bravery, conviction and honour, by refusing to talk about it, retreating from virtually all public engagements, and generously allowing Bob Iger to take responsibility for her failures. Also, her policy of hiring directors, writers and other senior staff who were openly rude, antagonistic and unprofessional towards fans on social media was an inspired strategy, as was her bold decision to staff Lucasfilm's story division almost exclusively with left-wing feminist activists, thus ensuring they produced the very best and most balanced story ideas possible. Disney even had a cast-iron strategy for handling negative fan reactions, taking the stunning and brave decision to simply dismiss legitimate criticism or complaints about their new movies as sexist, racist, or generally toxic fan behaviour. And if any particular actor or member of staff was called out for their behaviour, they could simply claim harassment and try to have the perpetrators deplatformed. It was genius, really. So how did something so right go so wrong? I mean, they started out strong with The Force Awakens, and it's hard to argue with the smart, savvy, highly creative thinking behind it. People loved Star Wars A New Hope, so why not just go ahead and make the same movie again? The Force Awakens introduced us to a Star Wars universe 30 years after the events of the last movie, while giving us virtually no world building, setup, explanation for the current state of events, or logical way to infer what happened to make things the way they were. They had an empire that was magically resurrected with no explanation, a bigger Death Star the size of a planet, a discount Darth Vader with none of the presence, mystery or intimidation factor of his predecessor, a CGI Emperor whose origins are never explained, and best of all, a character that's basically an idealized, flawless, virtuous caricature of Luke Skywalker, who can physically overpower men twice her size in a balanced engagement, skillfully pilot complex spacecraft that she's never even set foot in before, perform complex evasive maneuvers she couldn't possibly know about, utilize all manner of advanced force powers with no training, preparation or prior knowledge, operate a lightsaber up to and beyond the skill level of a Jedi Master with no previous training or even knowledge of how the weapon functions, resist mind control from a high-powered force user, swim despite never having been near a large body of water before, and be instantly liked, trusted and respected by every good character she encounters. I mean, really, why wouldn't people get behind a character like that? Someone who never fails, never loses, never struggles, grows, develops, or shows even a hint of weakness or personality. A character whose every word, action, and aspect was carefully measured against exhaustive political correctness checklists to make sure they conform to absolutely every demand and constraint of present-day intersectional left-wing identity politics. That's the kind of hero we can all get behind. So naturally, kids would want to buy every action figure they could get their hands on, wouldn't they? And they followed up on this stunning piece of creativity by subverting everyone's expectations with The Last Jedi, a movie that successfully eliminated Luke Skywalker as a credible legacy character by turning him into a weak, bitter, cynical, indecisive old man who gets easily defeated at the hands of his supposed apprentice, and removing Snoke as an effective villain by killing him off without giving him any backstory or justification whatsoever. It also made sure to emasculate and humiliate every male character possible, portraying them variously as weak, cowardly, ineffective, untrustworthy, unfairly portraying them as deeply flawed and wrong despite them having made totally correct decisions based on the information at their disposal, robbing them of any possible redemptive and heroic moments, or making previously ruthless and competent antagonists into the butt of ridiculous jokes.
Supremely.
And of course, taking every opportunity to elevate the female characters in every way possible, portraying them at all times as highly intelligent, skilled, competent, wise, compassionate, and right about absolutely everything, because that's definitely how things work in the real world. So really, it's a total mystery to me why the franchise's predominantly male fan base hasn't warmed to the new Disney era of Star Wars, or why kids find themselves unable to connect to the flawless, dimensionless character of Rey, or emasculated failures like Poe and Finn. And how can people not be excited by the final movie in the trilogy, The Rise of Skywalker? The movie that will end the Skywalker saga, written and directed by a man famous for not being able to effectively end long-running stories. I can only assume the current downward trend is the result of a small number of toxic fanboys afraid of diversity, trying to silence important conversations and prevent people from sharing their lived experiences. Well, I take a dim view of that kind of thing, so I hope you'll join me by giving The Rise of Skywalker the kind of support it deserves when it hits cinemas later this year. Hopefully together we can show Disney how the fans really feel about their treatment of Star Wars. Anyway, that's all I have for today. Go away now.